And how's it going?
I'm good. How you doing, Brianna?
Doing good. Got my Navy Street garb on.
I saw that. Yeah, it's a nice. Man, you could tell when those clothing is fresh. The letters are just like that. That is a bright, chic white.
It is. It's really well made. I'm super particular about clothes, but it's really well made. I like it a lot. I'm gonna wear it
They,
all winter.
they have to make one with just Jay's sunglasses in the middle, and then Jay Kalina written below it. And
I
I
would
would,
probably never take it off because
I
I love
would,
those sunglasses
I would just keep it.
all the time. So everybody, hey, Dan, welcome to the Not-So-Millennial podcast. I had the luxury of speaking to you a little bit before. Today we're going to
Yeah.
talk about all things kingdom.
All things kingdom.
All things kingdom. It sounds like they're getting a lot of hype right now on Twitter. Like people are really starting to sign that petition for season 4. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, they all right when it came to Netflix, I thought it's going to be just like Waco, which also was kind of like Kingdom. It was made on Paramount, and then it came over to Netflix, and everybody was like, "This show is so good." And it happened. It was filmed 2 years ago,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so the Kingdom this finished up 3 years ago. But I knew people were going to like it because Netflix, they don't just bury their shows; they put it right up there at the top of the screen, and you can't miss it.
Nope.
And it's the kind of show I think people just like. It's not just a fighting show. It's about what fighters deal with away from the ring, the problems they have, a lot of things they can't punch and kick, which are bills and women sometimes, and men, addiction, drinking, as Albie Kalina drinks more than Don Draper, and that's not easy to do because Don Draper would show up at the office at Sterling Cooper and just, yeah. But then there's Albie the day of like a fight. He's like, it's getting swallowed up by Frank Grillo's hair.
I honestly wish I had his hair. I mean, I don't
I'd be
hair like
Frank
that.
Grillo. I just be him for Halloween. You just put the headset on and it's be like the hairdo.
I know. They style it. I wonder like how long it takes his stylist on set to get it just like that perfect. Like there's always like that one little hair that's like, in front of his face.
It's almost like he's like the Italian Superman. It's just hanging down.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, I bet you it just takes a lot of mousse and a lot of spray. It's like it's all around his head. They're spinning around like this on a chair.
Just like a full 360. Just like.
Are we done yet? Not yet. Get in there, kids. No, he's all right. But yeah, I imagine it takes a while. But then again, I think he does it every day. So I think maybe he just goes, okay, pay attention, bro. Look at this. I want you to, so who knows? So
before we dive into the show, tell me about you. I'm obviously interviewing you. You are a sophisticated writer for KSDK News. And you've been writing, from what I understand, for a really long time. Tell me about that.
I've been writing probably since I was in high school. I always liked English literature and journalism classes. I look forward to that the most. I didn't look forward to math. I was like, okay, how much do we have to know about these fractions? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But I loved writing, and my grandfather, Lawrence, who I hold his middle name, and who I once put on a name tag on a field trip, I called myself Larry. And when a teacher got mad at me, I was like, that's my middle name. Don't get mad at me. But yeah, I just love it. And then when I got into like college, I kept writing. And when I used to work at the old Busch Stadium. So the Cardinals are playing in this new built stadium. Well, the old one that had the arches at the top. I used to bring my coworkers articles. Like, here you go. I wrote this last night about this player. And they go, what the hell is 17-year-old kids bringing articles to work now? And then I started doing these big email blasts. Like I told you about this before our chat, but I used to send these 4,000 to 5,000 word emails about everything, TV shows, what you should be eating. And I sent it to about 50 people. Most of them were my friends. 10 people were probably like, who is this? Like a telemarketer who would send a big email instead of calling you. And then in 2011, when, all the internet was like, hey, if you want to write, come get a blog. I started a WordPress blog, eventually called it Dose of Buffa. A buddy who wrote for KSTK had kind of directed me towards the supervisor there and said, hey, this guy can write like a machine. So, and I've been there since about 2015.
Oh my God. No, 5,000 word email. Dan, I don't know how you do it because I had to do that for college.
I think you can go on my Dose of Buffa site, you can find, I put up a couple of those long-winded, and it's like some of those sentences, they ran away from me, and they just like, I almost had to corral them with a period, like, no. But so, yeah, those days.
They kept you ever since, huh? You must be great.
They do.
I love it. So, obviously with your writing, your path kind of intersected with the show Kingdom. And I know that you got to write an interview about so many of the characters. Who did you get to interview?
I got a chance to interview Frank because I'd interviewed Frank before. And so he was kind of like my guiding light there. I just used one of his soap opera shows to describe my entrance to Kingdom. Off the top of my head, that was brought to you by coffee.
That was, I will toast to that in my red solo cup with my coffee in it.
So Frank was the easy one because I already interviewed Frank a couple times for his new Purge film and then for his couple of his other movies. And then I got a chance to interview Byron because Twitter can be such a powerful thing because you go on there and I'd start writing about the episodes. And of course, I didn't get to watch the show every week live until the second season because, DirecTV kind of locked this thing up. Unless you had TV, you couldn't really watch it. So I had to wait for it to get on iTunes or I had to wait for it. But that's where I watched the first season. I bought the whole thing on iTunes. And then season 2 is when they moved to AT&T. And that's when DirecTV I think they started to understand that we can't really corral this beast. So let's partner with AT&T. And I think it was Endemol Studios, and they finally put it on AT&T Uverse. So, and then I got a chance to, and then once I started writing recaps, then Kelly Kimball, who's a PR rep for the show, she got me a chance to interview Matt Loria and Jonathan Tucker, and then Mac Brandt. Mac was fun to talk to.
Mac is fun to talk to.
He is, and it's, for the two of us, it says he's a Cubs fan, I'm a Cardinals fan. So we always have to have that bitter intro to our interview where we just kind of trade barbs and stuff. But I got a chance to interview Joanna Going. She came on my radio show. Trying to think. I didn't get a chance. I think I'm going to talk to Paul hopefully this month because he's got something else coming out. He mentioned a new show coming out this month, so I'll be talking to him as well. So. But I haven't talked to everybody. I didn't get a chance to talk to Natalie Martinez, a couple people. I really wanted to interview Shelby after I found out that she was Byron's wife the whole time.
My mind was blown. You told me that, and I was like, "What?"
I had no idea. And then she is in all those scenes where she just like I love where she just seems worried about Alvy. She brings them. I brought you this green drink. Don't be so angry. I brought you. I almost wanted her to say, "I brought you a green drink. A green drink. Don't turn into the Hulk."
Yeah, that's kind of.
He does. He just gets so angry. I always thought when he comes into the gym, and if your form is not good and you didn't pay your bills, he's probably gonna yell at you.
Well, I mean, it's like he's like Italian Hulk. So if they come out with like an Italian version of the Hulk, he's gonna feature. There's
generations of angst there.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that's just an Italian thing. I mean, I come from an Italian family. That's just how we roll. We're just angry.
That's how we do it, man. We're eternally angry.
Are you Italian too?
I am part Italian, part Lebanese. So I'm like one big mob. It's like, yeah, I have a little bit of Arab in me a little bit and a little bit of gangster. So I'm one of those guys. Who knows? I might shoot you, or I might, blow things.
Which side is coming out?
Yeah, which side is coming out? Because I'm capable of doing some nasty stuff.
Man.
Yeah. So I do embrace the last name. Of course, is my dad's name, and it's Italian. So I embrace that side more. than the Lebanese. But
how do you pronounce it? Is it Buffa?
It's actually a Buffa in Italian, but we've
Buffa.
called it Buffa in America. So
Okay.
if you go over to Italy, you'll be like Buffa. Like, no, it's Buffa. Like, okay.
Buffa, yeah.
Give
Well,
me
mine's
pasta.
Shelco.
Yeah. So now how do you, is it Brianna Shelco? Is that how you say the last name?
So it's Brianna because
Brianna.
I'm from Providence, Rhode Island, but
Oh.
I'm here in Atlanta now, so everyone calls me Brianna. Yeah, I'm like no, it's Brianna Shelco. But I was just recently married, so my last name legally is King. It's much easier than Shelco,
There you
but
go.
Shelco is Hungarian and Italian.
Hungarian and Italian. There you go. You also got some, some
Oh,
toughness in that bloodstream.
I am forever angry.
There you go. Hey,
Passion. We have passion.
I'd rather be angry than be too passive. So.
Oh no, agreed. Like you don't get anything done if you're passive. Like I don't know any passive group, actually I probably
Start practicing that. Brianna. Well, for me, you just got to stop in the middle. Take a break. Brianna,
Yep.
Not Brianna. No,
No.
stop it.
Stop that. I'm not from here. But
You can just tell them to remember the like your mind is discovering something. Brianna.
It's so funny because I just rebranded as a pop artist. So I have my professional social media agency, and then I have my pop artist side of life. So it's funny because I used to go by, I rebranded I think 3 times. I used to go by Brianna Shelco, so everyone called me Brianna, and then I had B Shelco, which is sure, I just thought that would be clever. It wasn't. Nobody got it. It wasn't marketable. And now I'm Brianna.
Yeah.
That's it. All capital words.
Yeah, it's like whenever you're trying to think of something, I've done it before, they're really going to get this, aren't they? Like, no, they don't get anything. They're just going to go with what they've been calling you.
I honestly tried to copy Rihanna, and I'm like, maybe they'll get it now. It's just Brianna.
Yeah.
All capital letters.
Yeah.
So,
but no.
I got it. So I just recently got to talk to Joanna Going. She is a sweetheart. I really like her. We are distant family, and so it was really cool to get to connect with her.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was actually our first time meeting on Zoom.
Really?
Yeah.
Your interview.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I mean, it was a different level, to get to really know her. I mean, we were just learning each other for the first time, so it was cool. She's super nice. We got to talk about our favorite scenes in Kingdom, and when I talked to Mac, we also talked about some favorite scenes in Kingdom. I think one of mine, as far as Jonathan Tucker's performance, I was mentioning this to Joanna, was the scene where the guy who tried raping Joanna comes to the house, and Jonathan, Jay just loses his ever loving mind.
He does.
The acting in that was so raw. It was just so what did you think of that scene, and what was your favorite?
It's just I think the actor's name is Billy Hurst, and he kind of looks like a very innocent little guy who tried to be on Point Break, and he didn't get cast. So I knew when he came over, I was like, this is not going to be good. You have one chance to turn around and go back to your car and just never come here, because he doesn't know who he's dealing with. He thinks that probably okay, Jay's or Christina's son is probably a little introverted guy. No, you're dealing with a guy who doesn't like shirts, likes to torture you while he's drinking a little fruity drink, a little kid's drink. He just right away, I love the look on his face where he's thinking, this is not going to go the way I thought it was going to go. Oh,
no. I mean, Jay beats the shit out of people for a living. What did he expect?
And also, he kind of likes to be hit. He's one of those fighters that likes to be – he probably doesn't know that he's in a fight until he gets punched in the face. But, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of – I think those two formed probably one of the best mother-son combos on television, because I like the way it started. He pulls up to her, and you don't know who she is. He's got some money in his hand, and you find out right at the very end that I love you, Mom, get some food. And from there on, it's a tumultuous thing. I mean, it's up, it's down. He tries to he sobers her up. I mean, that's a tough scene, but probably one of my favorite scenes with those two is when he had to clear out the house. Remember that he was off to get burgers and she wasn't there, and he just kind of picked it up that she had been lying to him about working there still, and he just kind of comes back, and Jonathan Tucker has that way that there's a bomb going off in his face.
Yep.
He manages to kind of go, nope, I'm good. Just leave the house. I'm gonna explode. But that's why he's so amazing, though.
I honestly, if we ever become, friends in person, I would be scared to piss him off. Like, just because I would see the face, I'd be like, oh no.
That's it. See the face. It's like, man, that's like the Kalina Tucker face where he just gets a little mad. Like,
yeah.
He has kids, and when those kids get older, if somebody tries to mess with those kids, old Papa Jay's going to come out, and it's going to be bad.
You're in trouble.
Bad. Time for 3 years on an MMA show, I fought and I cut weight and I got crazy. Like, I think out of all the actors who, right before they get in the octagon, they got to show the guy their teeth, their mouthpiece. He looks like he's just a little insane when he does that.
Oh yeah, every time.
It's like, oh.
Was it hit? No, he has the vampire.
Yeah.
Ryan had the pussy.
It's like, all right.
I was like, that's interesting. That was, honestly, I thought that was such a wicked cool mouthpiece. Anyway, my husband fights MMA. So
yeah.
It's funny because he looks just like Nick Jonas. I sent you a picture of him. He's like ridiculous.
I know. Looks just like Nick Jonas. He could be his stunt double.
Well, that's his goal in life. So maybe Nick will see this, and if he needs a little crazy, like my husband's a little crazy, so he's willing to do stunts.
Well, I mean, obviously his last name is King, right?
Yeah.
So he looks like Nick Jonas. He's got a name that's missing 3 letters from being the name of the show. Sounds a little bit like Destiny is all I'm going to say.
It just so happens like Twitter connected all of us. So maybe one day, I mean,
just keep tagging Nick. That sweet little man is going to respond to you and your husband eventually.
Eventually. It's been a long go of it. We're going to keep trying.
He does kind of, he's the one that, he's probably one of the only people, and I don't think it's anything to do with not wanting to respond, but I think that he's trying to do this acting and musician game, and it's hard because you just don't get any days off. And also I think he has a girl in his life now. So
yes, Priyanka Chopra.
Yeah, my God. They better not mess up her first name either.
No, Priyanka, Brianna, James, Nick.
They just separate that shit. Just break it up in half.
So you want to know what's kind of funny about, you just made a comparison like last name and stuff like that being Kingdom. On the opposite scale, my husband's first name is not James. That's his middle name. His first name is Senator.
Well, what is it?
Senator. His name is Senator James Robert King.
Robert King. My gosh.
Yeah.
He's a character in one of those spy novels.
You want him to be your stunt double. Senator King.
My gosh.
I know. I didn't get a cool name like that.
His parents were going to stuff all these cool names into this one kid's name.
So I stepped it up, though, because I bought exactly 1 square foot in Scotland. So now he's Lord Senator James Robert King.
Oh. Imagine when he has to go to the DMV. They just go.
I know. Well, he gets asked all the time, like, is that your real name? Just like, I'm sure everyone gets that who has a unique name, but he's I can't even imagine like Priyanka. That's such a beautiful name, but she probably gets asked, is that your real name? I mean, if she wasn't famous, but.
I'm just going to say, don't be alarmed when you push the button in the basement and then all of a sudden a wall disappears. Bazookas and spyware stuff and guns, and you're just like, well, sorry, honey.
Dan, you'll be the first one to know.
Okay.
I'll let you come in and take pictures and interview.
I will. So, Senator Robert, is that right? No,
Senator James Robert
Lord, throw it in there.
I love it. So, what was it like, interviewing? I know you said you already had some history, but you said you got to Matt Loria. You got to interview him?
Yes, I interviewed Matt. I think that was I got Jay and Matt in season 2, but that's when they were splitting it into 2 seasons. And I think they really wanted the extra press because, instead of just, we're not going to put 20 episodes out at a time, they wanted to split it up. So that's why I've always told people it's kind of like 4 seasons, but it's 3 because they released 2 technically as 1. So yeah, talking to Matt was great. It happened to come on a day where my son had swallowed a quarter. And so we went to the hospital, and my lovely wife was like, no, just go out there, get in the car, turn it on, put the air conditioning on, do your interview. And I even told Matt, he's like, how you doing, man? I'm like, well, my kid swallowed a quarter, and we're just hoping he, shits out 2 dimes and a nickel, but you never know. And so we did it, and we talked about Ryan. I think I asked him a lot about Ryan and Ryan's dad, because I think this is probably, again, one of the more underknown, hopefully not for too long, father-son relationships on a show with him and MC Gainey. Now, MC Gainey really had been that big bad guy, or the bad guy in movies. And now all of a sudden he had a chance to really play a role where he wasn't a villain. He wasn't the henchman. He wasn't like, the guy that punches the good guys. So it was another thing where Byron Belasco's show just brought out these actors that you thought you knew, and you didn't know at all.
No, I honestly, so back to Nick Jonas for a second. I had no idea that he had capabilities. I mean, okay, so let's back up. Camp Rock, like when he was a kid, like Disney Channel's Camp Rock.
Sure.
Okay, so he acted in that, but he barely talked. Like, he really didn't talk a lot. And in this show, he came out, and of course he was a little more on the quiet side, but he said a lot with his face. He could just stare, and he said a lot with his face. Like, you knew exactly what he was saying.
Especially with Dom, the toxic trainer that comes into the gym. You almost see him looking at Dom and saying that, no, you're so full of shit. And not a lot of do that. They have to say it. They have to express it. But some actors like Jonathan Tucker and even Matt Laurie, even Frank Grillo, when he kind of bumps into the person that's working with Christina, Chris Coy, who plays a net pimp in that last season. But even when they bump into each other at a liquor store, you could tell Frank was like, I could kill you in 5 seconds, but I'm going to back up and buy my champagne. But yeah, a lot of actors on this show could do that though.
And then, for Nick to play, and I was talking to Joanna about this a little bit.
Oh, sure, Nick
play
too.
Someone gay.
Yeah.
That's so opposite of, what he is in real. Everyone knows his life is on display a lot of the time, right? As a pop artist or as a celebrity, musician. I just thought it was really interesting that Byron wrote that part and that Nick fit the bill and he pulled it off. That was honestly one of the most amazing transitions I've seen in television in a hot minute.
It was. And, the story goes all the way back to when they're doing the auditioning. And Frank, I think, said that, he wasn't sure. I mean, this guy's a pop star.
Yep.
And then he came in and he killed it. Even when Paul Walter Hauser, they did that little Zoom meeting with Samantha Highfill.
Yeah, I saw that.
Last month or 2 months ago. And he was like, I thought it's an MMA show with Nick Jonas. He thought it was a Mad Lib. He thought they were just messing around, but he was, and I will say to the end of the day that he had the hardest role because he had the least amount of dialogue.
Yep.
He had to do a lot of facial expressions to really get across what his character was feeling. And you're just waiting the whole series for when is he going to tell Alvy and what's going to happen. And it's just, that's where Byron's show really went deep, is that it didn't really back away from the worst thing that can happen if you choose a certain time. You tell your dad stuff when he's really drunk. It's probably not a great idea, but sometimes there isn't a perfect time. So
no, honestly, well, his dad was always drunk in that show. So.
He was always drunk.
He was always drunk. I bet he's the most sober person in person. No, just kidding. I don't know.
I hope he doesn't drink like Alvy, man. I'd be wondering, and I mean, how are you staying coherent? Are you moving your lips and somebody else is talking? Because if you had that much bourbon, you'd be slurring.
Oh man, yeah, no, I can barely get through 2 glasses of wine, and I don't drink. I'm like,
yeah,
Yeah, I don't drink. I honestly, I didn't get that gene. A lot of my family drinks, but I didn't really get that. I can have 2 glasses of wine and I'm good for like.
That's it. You're like, all right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. I drink. I drink. I can drink a decent amount, but not as much as Alvy. I don't think anybody drinks as much as Al.
No, I haven't met anyone who drinks as much as him in that show. He literally wakes up, drinks, just to clear his thoughts from like going to sleep drunk.
It's like one day I thought he put orange juice with his alcohol, and I was like, all right, we're good direction. We're going towards mimosas.
I think Sanchez was in that scene, the one that you're talking about. Like he was like, "You want orange juice?"
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, want some orange? Want a little bourbon? Want a little vodka? No."
A little bit of everything in your. So back to you for just a second. So like the Not-So-Millennial podcast, I like to focus on like generational differences. We all go through different things. I'm obviously a millennial. I think you're a Gen X. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
So like the cool part about all these different generations is we all experience things differently and we communicate.
Sure.
Differently. So this podcast came about because I'm a young CEO. I started my company 4 years ago. It's been doing really well. I can say I survived 4 years. Yay me. It's been great. However, I am met with, people who are older than me don't take me seriously, or sure. They're like, oh yeah, she's 26. There's no way she's going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm constantly met with conflict. So I was wondering, in your time, especially being a successful writer, and then you're also part of the critics board, aren't you? The Critics' Choice?
Yeah, it keeps changing. It used to be called Broadcast Film Critics Group. Now it's called the Critics' Choice Association. So I'm part of the St. Louis Film Critics, but I'm also part of that. I'm also Rotten Tomatoes certified. So that's kind of weird to see my little box next to like other people. It's like, it's all about the blurb. That's why I tell people, you got to have that right quote you use in your review or nobody's going to read it. You can't just go, this movie was bad and bland like ketchup, so it's fun. But yeah, I'm kind of slowly growing, but like you, it's so easy just to kind of say, okay, enough. Like, sometimes, you don't get to where you want to get, and it gets kind of, it gets tiring. And also when people aren't really appreciative, and there's people that you kind of do a lot for, and because you're kind of a young hunter, you're trying to like make it, and you kind of have to do a lot more work than just the person that's kind of given stuff. And here you go, we're going to ride you up the mountain. But then people like the two of us and a lot of people, they have to find their own way to climb up that mountain. So it's hard, and you get knocked down a lot because people are trying to do what you've done, and you're trying to go through a route that everybody has kind of traveled through. So imagine like the snow, all those foot marks in the snow. But I always just say, if you like it and you have a passion for it, and like you, people are really listening to you on Spotify, and Spotify is where everybody finds a lot of their stuff these days. So, you just got to keep pushing through.
Yeah, that was honestly the coolest thing ever. I can't believe I'm a verified artist on Spotify. Yeah. I'm not verified on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, but I'm verified on Spotify, so that means something to me. Yes, it's a
start.
It's a start. Yep, it means more eyes, right? Oh, Dan, I think you're.
That's right. More eyes in your stuff.
I think you're breaking up just a little bit.
And pausing. Am I doing something?
Yeah, you're pausing.
I'm gonna move the.
There we go. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you're gonna pause. You got it?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Are we back?
We're back.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, it looks good. There's just a little lag, but I think we're good now. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Great. So what would you say, like, what kind of advice do you have for, like Gen Zs who are coming up and they want to be writers, they want to be a critic, and they want to be able to write for the news, and, what advice do you have for like the people coming up after you?
Well, I mean, I would say just start a blog. I mean, that was really the biggest thing was you have a lot of weapons at your disposal. You have Twitter and Facebook, and you even have Reddit where you can put some of your links. You just need to write and write a lot. You need to put a lot of content out there. Sometimes people, they want to be writers, but they don't want to put as much content. But you have to be in 2020 and 1999, or maybe the internet was still kind of becoming a huge sensation back in the 90s. Now you have all these tools, but with all those tools, you have a lot of competition. So you have to write, and you have to, it sucks when you're starting out, but you have to really pay attention to your words. And, I can't tell you, the biggest advice I can give to somebody is read it again, and then read it again, and then just kind of go over it, because if you sound professional, you're going to come off as professional. So that's the biggest thing.
Right. No, that's great advice. That's really good advice, because, I have a lot of friends too. I was talking to Joanna. I kind of say the same thing. Like, I have a lot of friends who want to do a lot of things. A lot of them are in theater, music theater, acting, singing, and writing. I have a lot of writers as friends. I only write songs. I mean, I tried writing short stories. I just lost interest because it's just so meticulous, every grammar. I do so much grammar for my clients already that I'm like, I can't enjoy it myself.
I can't. No.
Yeah, it's like I just don't want to do that at home.
It's a lot of work, but and you notice the things when the worst thing is if you publish a piece and you're reading on your website and that doesn't make sense, and you got, hopefully it's your own website, but if it's KSDK, I have to email somebody and go, sorry, and I always just kind of say, sorry, I had a moron moment. Can we change this line? Can we put out this word, put an apostrophe? Because then it's almost like you just put a Band-Aid on your sentence. You're like, okay, it looks better now.
I've had that happen a couple times, for sure.
Yeah, it's out there. It's like the great Bobby Cannavale said in Chef. It's like, it's out there, bro. You're out there now. So you can't, when you hit publish, it's out there.
What do you anticipate is going to happen with Kingdom? Do you think they're going to bring it back for season 4?
Hey man, I want to say that when it first was announced, I kind of thought, oh man, if it's a shot in hell, it'd be like 25 to 75. I thought maybe, but now that I wrote something, people are picking it up. Samantha wrote something when she wrote something for Entertainment Weekly, that's a big. That site is kind of almost connected to like the Hollywood game out there.
Yeah.
And if anybody wrote more about the show than me or as much, it was probably Samantha. And she got to interview a lot of the cast too. So if she's writing about it and the cast is that, see, all this is going to do is put pressure on Netflix, because you have a show that you basically adopted from DirecTV and AT&T, and it's getting watched a lot. It's getting very, because a lot of these actors are now bigger. Like when Frank in 2014, he wasn't really a big name yet. Then he did another Purge sequel and now other stuff. And people know who Tucker is and Matt Laurie, and Paul Walter Hauser is now Richard Jewell in a Clint Eastwood movie. So all their stars have kind of brightened up a little bit. So now it's a waiting game, because it's been out there. And Belasco, who always told me something. See, of course, in case anybody watching doesn't know, Byron Belasco is the guy. He's the guy that probably sees the final scripts. He created it. He is the guy that brought it all together. But he's always told me that each season is kind of like a day in the life of these people. It's just a part of their lives. So returning to them would be so easy, because you just be catching up with them. Like, what is Jay doing? What is Alvy drinking everybody out of their booze? And is Ryan still mad? And what's Lisa doing as the president of King Beast? So
I'm dying to see that.
There's a lot of stuff to do. So now it just depends on Kingdom. Is it going to be as easy for them? Did they acquire the series with the ability to make more, or did DirecTV maybe tell them, no, you can't make more? I would be very surprised if it was the latter. So at this point, the cast wants to do it. The creator wants to do it. Netflix, they just put out a movie on Friday about Jamie Foxx taking a magic pill that makes him wrong. And I'm like, okay, we're doing that kind of movies. Can we get another season? A season of Kingdom will probably cost what they paid Jamie Foxx.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, they got to start replacing some of this, in my opinion, bullshit content on Netflix and focus on the good stuff. Kingdom,
Yeah.
Selling Sunset is a bomb. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a bunch of
Yeah.
rich bitches selling, but they are beasts. And it's honestly extremely empowering seeing those women
Yeah.
sell millions of worth of commission. I think that's a very cool angle.
I mean, and there's stuff that works. I mean, the Charlize Theron movie did really good, The Old Guard, and I liked it. And look, I haven't watched Project Power, and I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So if those two guys are doing it, it must be good. But as far as cost, again, you could pay what you pay Jimmy Fox. You could do a whole season at Kingdom, because nobody in that cast, even Frank, nobody's going to take they're not going to say, I need this much money to do it. They're just going to want to do it.
Yeah.
Because for people like Frank, he gets to kind of be immersed in his world that he loves. He's a boxer. He trains. He likes that kind of environment. So for him, it's like being paid to go to work.
Yeah.
Or being paid to work out. So
honestly, like I don't think the impression I get from that cast is very humble, very talented.
They want to go
like
because
round.
Yeah, I think what they found, that they found magic in a bottle, and I think they know they can do it again.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of the people they're still ready to go. They're still acting. Everybody wants to get back to work after the pandemic kind of starts to finally like loosen its grip. But I would almost say that 25% is how I felt back in June. But I think these days, I think there has to be over 50%. I think the fact that the cast has now made it public and everybody is talking about this show, that's what Netflix wants. They want that interest. They want to be able to go, if we greenlight a season 4, people are actually going to watch it. And I think now you have all these new fans. And I knew it was going to happen. I right when the show premiered on July 1st, I was like, it's going to be just like Waco. It's going to take over.
You know, it's so funny because speaking of taking over, and you know, there's a lot of people with their eyes on this cast right now. I've had my eyes on this cast because my cousin's in it, and I've looked up to her for a really long time. So I was really excited to see what else she was doing, and then it was on Netflix because I didn't have the other channels or anything. So I was like, I get to see something Joanna's in. I'm so excited. So I got to.
You're like, yay!
Yeah, yay! I get to support, and then of course I reached out to her on Twitter and was like, hey, woohoo! You did a great job, and it was awesome.
Think you'd be like that, do like that creepy wave. You're like, hey.
I was like, I'm a fan and distant family who you don't know, but I just wanted to say hi.
Well, there's I'll tell you a story, but as we kind of, I guess we're kind of getting to the end of this, but I'll tell you a story. John, you know John Hamm, right? Of course, anybody knows John Hamm.
Yes.
I've already mentioned Don Draper because the only person that drinks more on television than Don Draper is Albie Kalina. But so John Hamm is a big Blues fan. He's a big hockey and baseball fan. So when the Blues were going to the Stanley Cup, the guy that I write for a fan-run paper called St. Louis Game Time. You'll see it in my Twitter bio.
Yep.
Because there's a website too. But the Blues are the only team, the St. Louis Blues, we were the only team to sell a fan-run paper outside. So John Hamm reads that paper because he's like a St. Louis guy. He told the editor of the paper, I think you're a guy, Buffa. I think we're related. And so he texts me a picture one night. I'm watching the playoff game, and Brad goes, I think this guy knows you. And then I see John, and I go, fuck you. Just stop. This is not fair. But then I met John Hamm a week later, and he said, hey, man, if you're a Buffa from St. Louis, we're related. And I was like, John, that's all I have to know. Don't talk anymore.
That's it.
That's on the Twitter bio. Ham's cousin.
That's amazing.
So it's never been confirmed, and I don't want to look it up because if I'm not his cousin, that'll be like finding out that these tattoos aren't real. And Santa
was never
like, no! So
I know the inner 8-year-old.
Weird though. So now I can go. You know, I can see him like I'm his cousin, 17th cousin removed from 6 wives. Hold on, you know. So yeah.
So what I was gonna tell you though is like think it's amazing that you are so I want to brag on you for a second. I think it's amazing because like you know this cast is getting a lot of eyes on them. So I've reached out to several people and I'm like, how do you get in touch with who? How do you to giving some trade secrets and like how do you get in touch? You know who keep going and some encouragement because when I sit down part like some secrets are left trade secrets. I'm like I'm gonna get them anyways.
Yeah,
Like,
There really are no secrets. I mean, the only reason I was able to get him was because I was one of the only people that was writing about him, because it was me and Samantha. She started doing the Entertainment Weekly recaps, and she kind of made me up my game. I tell her this all the time. It's like, you kind of made me have to really kind of, I can't just say, well, these two people fought, and then they fought more outside the octagon. I mean, you have to really get into it. So, but really, it's just the fact that I was writing about them. And a lot of them were on social media. Matt was on social media then, Frank was on it, and now they're not. But Frank, I mean, he will at least, if you DM him on Twitter, he will kind of at least see it. And you look, throw out all your.
Find him on Twitter. I can't even.
On Instagram. He's on it, and so he will respond to a DM on Instagram. And I think Tucker is on there, but I mean, really, it's just, you kind of have to just put yourself in front of these people and just, if you're supporting their show, and if they think that talking to you is going to help their show, they're going to do it. Really, it doesn't really have much to do with, well, the cast would argue that Frank likes to talk about Frank, but I think everybody likes that. I think Joanna likes talking about Joanna, and I think Nick loves talking about, probably could be one of his acting roles.
They need to be they need to be talking about themselves. Like, self-promotion is so important.
Yeah, I mean, really, and speaking of Frank, I mean, he's a guy that kind of bloomed really late in Hollywood. He hit his big stride in his late 40s, but he's right out. I mean, he's almost been just about, I want to say, 8 to 9 years where he's been in that stratosphere of being kind of more of a name. And so it's all about supporting the show. So if you are going to have them on and you're going to support the show, and they talk. So if you've already talked to Joanna and Mac, well, then that kind of gives you an in to Jonathan Tucker, because Mac and
he's teasing me.
Buddies, yeah. Tucker's not easy to get.
Jonathan is teasing me. He likes everything I'm posting, everything on Instagram, everything on Twitter. You're a tease.
Like, you could say Jonathan Tucker likes Skittles, and he would probably just like that. You go, okay, is that going to help me get anything? But for anybody that wants to talk to the cast, I would just say keep tagging them, keep writing about the show. They're gonna see what you're doing. They're gonna appreciate it, because Kingdom started out as, like, the little engine that could. I mean, it luckily finished its 3rd season, and now it has a chance to get more. So the more Kingdom talk, the better it is for more Kingdom, because Netflix is going to see that.
Of course. And I'm going to write a song for Kingdom. So
you should.
I already am. It's called Kingdom. So
there you go.
I'm looking forward to, like, sharing it with some people who I know, and just getting your opinion on it.
I always just keep saying, make noise, or is Patty McKinley, who did some, I think he directed a couple of the episodes, I think he directed probably the last episode. He directed Lying Down in the Light. His name's Padriak, but it's just Patty McKinley. He said, just keep the flame going, keep the flame strong. That's what he always tells me about, like, Frank's little documentary on Netflix called Fight World, on Kingdom. Just if you keep writing articles and songs and whatever, people are going to keep discussing it, and then that means that Netflix will go, well, we have to make more of this. So,
of course. And that's the goal. Any way I can support them, then I'm going to support them. I'm bigger in the music world, so I'll support them musically.
There you go. Use your strength.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Dan, for being on the show. I had a great time talking with you.
Yeah.
It will be up later today, so share it with all your connections.
I will retweet. I will send out. This was great.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
You too. Enjoy that hoodie.
I will. I'm going to wear it every day. I'll never take it off.
Wash it occasionally, but wear it all the time.
Pretty much.
All right. See ya.
Bye. Have a good one.
You too.